video. Hello and welcome to a new video. I'm joined today with Nell Fallcard. So you say it?
Yes, nell fallcard.
Fallcard. And she's an artist here from Mexico. I believe it says Mexico on
Yay!
your page. Yeah. Awesome. She does.
Mexico.
Yeah. Awesome. And her work's amazing here, so you can check it out at nellfallcard, deviantart.org. Or .com, sorry. So yeah, tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm an artist from Mexico. And well, this is the absolute first time that I'm in this format of interview. I kind of like shied away from this kind of, I don't know, live things because it feels like a lot of effort and work and everything. So I really admire people who is able to put together the discipline to do this. So kudos to you. But if I kind of like screw up, just get me a little bit of slack.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
Well.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else to say.
Cool. Yeah, how long have you been doing that?
Oh, it's a while now. I think I started my very first approaching when I was 5 years old, but it was crap, of course, and it continued being crap until middle school, I guess, when it kind of like started taking shape. And well, I had periods where I left it. So I think during all high school, I focused more on writing. So I was going to be a writer. I was not going to be an artist.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I don't know, for some reason I kind of like diverged at the last minute and I decided to focus on art. And this has been my life nowadays.
Yeah.
So I do this for a living, and yeah, I'm content and happy. I feel lucky that I'm able to do a living out of this.
Yeah.
So
Was that
yeah.
Was that writing or grind?
Writing was more like short stories.
Yeah.
Maybe short. Like I don't know, like 2 pages long stories about random characters.
Oh, interesting.
And
yeah.
yeah, it was more like a literature club. So yeah, it was fun. It was back in the day when the internet was still kind of like a video game. You didn't have your real name or anything. You could be whoever you wanted. So yeah, it was fun. I kind of miss that internet.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Like back in the day, I was still young. We had really poor internet connection. We didn't really have internet until it was like maybe 10, I think. And then I didn't even know what I was doing, So
Yeah, it's the same experience like here. It's like I didn't have like proper internet until I was like 15 years old or something.
yeah.
And yeah, it was fun, but as I'm telling you, it was more like a video game. You had like this persona who was more like a character,
Yeah.
and you basically, yeah, just like a Sims game or something. It was interesting. Also because it was more about the message, more than about who you are and where you are and what are the credentials that you have and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
It's
so
definitely
yeah, it was nice.
it's grown and changed a lot, like yeah, it was this fun place where everyone knew the net was pretty much a place for you to play games, and some people were into their forums and things like that.
Yeah, it was decentralized.
Yeah, and now it's so much open. Anyone's freedom of speech is out there. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes can be scary, you know. It's how I don't know how easy it is to offend people nowadays,
Hmm.
and the consequence that that can have.
Yeah.
Because, well, you know, it's like people can get has always been offended, but nowadays it can be, you know, you rub somebody the wrong way and can have real consequences that are mostly overblown.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
Just think about the Kevin Spacey thing. But well, we are kind of like deviating ourselves from art, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think
You
you've
want
got to
to-
kind of come at it with a turtle shell, you know. You got to think
Mm,
that most of the people that are being bad on the internet um,
mm,
are doing it because that's what they do, you know.
mm,
Yeah, they want you to suffer and um, all that stuff.
mm.
How do you deal with kind of any bad remarks toward your art? Um,
Bad remarks. I think it depends of the type of remark and what we can possibly consider a bad remark. Um, if it comes from the technical side, like saying, you know what, oh, the anatomy is wrong, or the lighting is wrong, or it lacks in this, is like, well, that's actually good feedback, you know, because it helps you to grow.
hmm,
But when it comes to people who assume intention on your art that is not there, by example, I have a lot of pieces with girls who are or naked or had very tight clothes,
yeah,
and I have a lot of people coming to say that I'm hypersexualizing them or that I am trying to exploit, you know, the sexiness factor in order to get exposure, stuff like that. It's like, well, it's like, well, no. I mean, I am the author, and I didn't have that in mind at all. I mean, I'm just painting because the shapes of the female body are beautiful, and I like to paint it.
hmm,
But I'm not really thinking about, you know, on those terms necessarily. So, I mean, if it comes across that way, well, that's unfortunate, and I do apologize, and I'm sorry, but it was not my intention. And that's the thing, is like, okay, is like getting across the wrong message is bad, I can't concede that. But people assuming that that was my intention, that's what kind of like, ah, I don't know, that rubs me the wrong way, I'll say.
yeah, yeah. It can be annoying when things like that happen. I just
Mm,
you just push it to one side, I reckon. Um, because you got to think they don't really, they're not there to attack you really. Well, they're kind of trying to attack you in a way.
yeah, I think it's a factor of boredom, I guess.
Mm,
It's like probably most of the arguments in general are people who are, yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm idle, I have nothing to do, there's nothing good on TV, or I just finished to binge watch all Netflix and I just need some excitement, you know, so they kind of engage on that. I sometimes am guilty of it, so I
yeah.
really can.
Well,
So,
I usually try and offer my feedback, and I do take into account, how would they feel about it. But most of the time, if I'm doing any art advice or any comments, I try and I do, say what's wrong with it, and I'm not afraid to say, oh, what's wrong. They're gonna get upset. They're gonna get upset. Um, yeah, you kind of have to take what they say, and sometimes, it might not be that that's wrong. Yeah,
mm,
it comes down to what was the purpose of creating this piece, you know?
mm. What was the purpose of what, sorry?
What the purpose of the creation of the art or the piece of artwork
Yeah,
is.
And sometimes, people can even add their own interpretation, and
Mm.
that's valid as well. And it's interesting. I recently made this comic it was a remake of a joke that
Mm.
was going around on Spanish Facebook. I don't know if you saw it. It's just a story about life and death.
Okay.
So you basically have life giving gifts to death. So it's
Mm.
basically this comic book that says, okay, life is in love with death. They have been in love since forever, and usually life sends gifts to death. And the original comics states that death keeps them forever. So it was supposed to be poetic and beautiful and everything. But there was a variant which was a joke, and the gift that life sends over to Death was a chicken with Snickers. So
Mm.
basically, Death just loved his he just laughed at the fact that he's receiving a chicken with Snickers. So I was like,
Mm.
what the hell is this? And yeah, it's kind of like a funny thing. And I don't know. I'm bumping for. I think that became a little bit viral. I found it on Reddit, and a lot of people is sharing it.
Mm.
And there is somebody who just tagged me on Twitter like half an hour ago, stating like, "Oh yeah, it's like this the dynamic in between life and death, and how absurd it can be, and how it makes no sense, and everything." Like this sort
Mm.
of background that is like, okay, I didn't thought about it at all, but it makes sense, and I like it.
Mm.
It's like this over, I don't know, over rationalization in a sense of the message. So maybe it was not your intention, but people adds to it and adds to the meaning. And even if it was intended as a joke, they are able to get a deeper,
Mm.
meaning of what you're putting out there. And I think that's nice,
Mm.
or I like it.
Yeah, well,
So,
people just read things in different ways, and it's quite cool to have different eyes on something.
mm.
Mm. So you use many social medias and things. What do you think is the best one that works for you?
It's strange to say which one,
Mm.
because I've had different results on different ones, and sometimes it's hard to predict. Sometimes
Yeah.
you think that one piece is going to be a success in certain platform and nobody cares about it, and then you kind of like just throw it at another one, and it's like, well, I'm just living just, and it becomes a hit in there, and it's like, what the hell is going on? And yeah, I think in terms of exposure, like guaranteed in a sense, probably Instagram,
Mm.
because well, depends of the hashtags. If you have like hashtags that are not way too popular, that the algorithm blocks you, because that happens,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, or way too obscure that no one will ever click on it.
Mm.
But it's like if you use kind of like the hashtags that artists go for, like art collector or artist sharing or Insta art or stuff like that, you will have at least in the time that is in the recent uploads, you will have people looking at it.
Mm.
And if it's good, you can gain followers from it.
Yeah, yeah.
But but the thing with Instagram is that you need to keep a consistent level of quality, otherwise you will lose followers.
Yeah.
That actually happened to me recently when Inktober started.
Mm. Mm.
So I went up to the challenge and I started uploading a drawing a day, but of course a drawing that it takes you just a couple of hours is not going to be at the same level of quality of something that you took a week, you know? So I actually lost followers
Mm.
during Inktober
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because they were used to a certain level, and I was not providing that level. So at the end of the day, I just stopped posting on Instagram because of that,
Mm.
and October at least. So yeah, it really depends, and I don't know. Facebook can also be a good thing, but I think Facebook is more it's more like a popularity contest rather than a
Mm.
quality one.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I have seen artists who are amazing, are fantastic, but the problem is that they are a little bit antisocial or a little bit just focus on their art and not exactly on the socializing factor.
Yeah.
And the way the algorithm works is the more people you interact with or the more people you talk to on the messenger or stuff like that, the more exposure your
Mm.
posts are going to have.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you don't care about that social factor, nobody is going to see it, you know?
Mm.
And and also depends of the type of people you have on Facebook, because if you are mostly an artist and all the people who follows you is people who are artists themselves or appreciate art in a certain way, then you have more chances of interaction
Mm.
than if you have your aunts or your cousins and the people from your high school and the people from your elementary school and people from your work, people who maybe don't care that much about art.
Yeah, yeah.
So if they see your artworks, they are not going to interact because they just don't care, you know?
Mm.
And the less people interact, the more the algorithm in Facebook says, "Oh, this is not relevant content, so we don't show it to anyone else." So, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it depends. Each platform
Yeah.
has its own rules.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to
I,
predict.
I tend to spread out, like, sometimes I update my DeviantArt in my Facebook. I usually do it all at the same time now. It's like Facebook art session and and DeviantArt at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
with my Instagram, we only started it like a year ago. Um, so I just slowly feed things through. I try to post at least like 3 times a week or something. Um, but it all
Mm-hmm.
depends. But I've just realized, I've got so much art from a while back that I could share on Instagram, but you know, um, I kind of want to share the work I have now. That's at the level I'm at now,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite good.
So, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, so you mentioned working with clients. How
Mm-hmm.
how do you say you got your first client?
My first client, I think my very, very first client was a friend of mine.
Mm.
We were working together on a comic book. Back in the day, I left high school and was in a period of 6 months of kind of like time off between high school and university.
Mm. Yeah.
So I missed inscriptions for university on that period, so I had 6 months to wait into the next period.
Mm.
And I decided to make oh God, the neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. You can hear there. I have a
Yeah. I can hear
doggy.
them, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, and we decided to make a comic together, and we
Mm.
managed to make 270 pages.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, during 6 months, I was
Mm.
doing the roughs and he was inking.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good going. And well, he decided that was just for fun, basically. The idea was kind of like to commercializing it at some point, but you know, just things that you kind of say when you're young.
Yeah.
And eventually, after when I was on university, the guy, he's older than me by 10 years, 11 years.
Yeah.
So he hired me, in a sense, to make a sort of art of those characters that we developed together.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my first. It was super cheap. It was kind of like $10 at
Mm.
the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but that was the very first client. And then the another one who was the first serious client, I think it was because I won a contest.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that was the image of a tequila bottle,
Hmm.
and I won second place.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, but that was more a prize than a proper client. But the client kind of like bought the graphics and everything.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was good. How about you? Do you have
Well,
commercial thing?
yeah, well, I've had two clients, very small at the moment. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, it was during course, we had to go out and kind of find our own client. Um,
mm,
it was a real struggle for me, um, because, they had a list of people you could go approach, and then we could go and find our own as well. And I was very struggling because I didn't really want to do any, because my course was focused on graphic design. I didn't
mm,
really want to do any graphic design. I mean, if I had to, I would have. Um, but in the end, I found this small publishing company who just luckily wanted an illustration for their new upcoming book. So
mm.
that's my first one, and then the other one, I was at a gallery and they wanted a logo, so they popped by and found me, and I offered them a logo. So yeah, it was kind of lucky is kind of where my jobs have come from.
But how do they find you?
um, well, usually through other people. So
Oh, I see.
how I found them was through one of the bookshops around. They told me to get a hold of all these publishing companies around New Zealand and see if they've got anything, yeah,
Mm.
so eventually someone got back to me just in the nick of time, and yeah, it was cool.
Oh,
Um,
that's nice.
yeah, these days I'm usually just doing my own work here, so I create these videos,
Mm.
and learning a few courses and things like that. Um, every now and again, though, I hear back from a job, and sometimes they want they want an art test, so sometimes I do
Mm.
those things.
Like commissions.
No, more just an art test to see if you're capable of working there and things like that.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh,
Um,
I see.
yeah, have you ever worked in
Mm.
studio, or have you always been freelance?
No, I work at the very beginning of my career. I was I have been on studios.
Yeah.
Um, the first one was a studio that we put together with some university colleagues,
Mm.
classmates. So there was this guy who was very entrepreneurial. So he basically put together this studio. They are doing great right now. So
That's
they are a
awesome.
proper studio now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, at the very beginning it was just two guys and myself.
Mm.
And yeah, basically we were entering contests for flash games, casual ones.
Yeah.
And that was my very first gig out of university that was related to art.
Mm. Mm.
And then some other that were local studios. But the thing is, Mexico is not really. I mean, it's good when you're recently out and looking for experience, but once that you gain certain level, it's not a good idea to. Well, I mean, you can do it if you want, to stay in the local market, but it's not going to pay your bills.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's the thing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, studios are nice in the sense of the friendships that you make in there,
Yeah.
and yeah, the how do you call it? This concept of well, you basically laugh a lot
Yeah.
because people always is coming with
Mm.
with ideas and things that make you laugh and happy. But but other than that, yeah, it's not really well paid. That's why I'm a freelancer, because here I'm doing way much better as a freelancer than working on a proper studio.
Yeah.
And yeah, unless I will move to some other country, I doubt my situation will get better.
hmm Yeah. It's a
So,
hard thing because I'm from New Zealand, so it's quite smallish. There's not many studios
mm,
around. We've got Weta workshops in Wellington. And you kind of have these two little countries you have to be at to make it in a way.
mm,
That's how I feel. But being a freelancer, yeah, I'm more open to that. I'm more open to being able to work for places around the world, because there's so much of that out there.
oh yeah, and it's amazing to have. One of the things that I really love about my job is that I haven't hear an alarm clock in months.
Yeah,
So it's like I just don't have to wake up early in the morning, never, ever, ever.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, you can go on vacation anytime you want.
mm,
You can basically do whatever you want whenever you want and everything. Of course, you need to be responsible, and you
yeah,
can't just, you know, you have you need certain discipline in order to have a
definitely.
proper, yeah.
What what
But
what
yeah, it's
is?
amazing.
Do you have a schedule or anything like that, or you just take it as is?
I actually do, but it's a little bit it's not a schedule that goes by time. I
Mm,
do a list of things to accomplish for the day
yeah, yeah,
the night before.
mm,
So yeah, basically I just make a list of between 10, 12 items,
yeah,
and that is just to keep myself busy. I don't always accomplish everything that is on the list,
mm,
but yeah, it's like if I get over 5 or 7, I find myself done. Actually, I'm looking at it right now. So yeah,
yeah.
basically I have. Yep.
Yeah. I just feel if there's so much on the list, it gets a bit daunting. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean it's not like. Well, the thing is, in the list, you also have to consider things that are not, it's not all work
Mm,
like that. It's more like mm, just work, but also I try to put on the list also projects that I want to do for fun,
mm,
but that at the same time will help me to push my career. So maybe
yeah,
fun art, maybe I don't know, this story that I have always wanted to make and haven't had the time. So it's like, okay, it's like tomorrow you are going to dedicate half an hour to this,
mm, yeah,
and then you can do everything else. So yeah,
mm,
it's not too daunting, so it becomes stressful,
yeah, yeah.
but still, so you don't end up, all the afternoon watching Netflix and not accomplishing anything, because that's also, you know,
Yeah.
it's nice, it's enjoyable at the moment, but that kind of like breed depression, I think.
Mm,
Maybe this is a personal thing, but yeah, it's like the more time you spend, you just kind of like wasting time in entertainment, but
mm,
that doesn't lead to build anything. That tends to breed depression, I think.
yeah. Um, I, a lot of people get like that. It's a occurring thing, like, you know, you feel bad, so you watch Netflix, but then you feel bad for watching Netflix, so you want to watch more. It can be a cycle, and um, can also be hard to break out. Yeah, have you ever had that? And
Yeah, it's,
you,
it's like,
how did
sorry.
you how did you break out of it then?
Well, basically, this system that I told you that where I do make lists,
Yeah.
and I don't, yeah, because what I used to do is like, okay, I have nothing to do. I'm going to watch series or watch movies and just basically, eat crap meanwhile
Mm.
and watching and everything. And that was every day, every day. And the problem with that is that, yeah, it became stale after a while. So what I'm doing now is not that I'm saying no to Netflix. Actually, I watch a lot of Netflix, but
Yep.
that's not all. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's not all that I do in the day. I kind of
Mm.
like more, I treat it like a treat.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, okay, I have these things to do for the day. I need to finish my job with my clients. I need to finish this painting that I'm doing because I want to build up my portfolio. When I'm done with that, as a treat, then I'm going to watch an episode of, I don't know, Stranger Things or
Mm.
Black Mirror or any series that I'm watching at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
But just after I finish what I was supposed to do on that day.
Mm.
And yeah, it's a little bit difficult to get into the discipline mode, but once you start, you can like develop certain inertia that helps you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like exercise. It's
Mm.
hard to start,
Yeah.
but once you get momentum, it's like it gets easier.
Mm.
But as BoJack Horseman said, is the difficult part is to do it every day, but it gets easier.
Yeah. It just takes a bit of discipline. That's the key element to have.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah, that's something you need to train because yeah, it's not easy. I admire people who because there is people like that they just have the discipline ingrained on their system. And yeah, I deeply admire those people. I can't do it just for the sake of it. I need you know, to to blackmail myself
mm.
in order to do that.
Do you
Yeah.
um so you have this do you always have this thing you need to feel like you always need to be creating something?
Mm, that's not always. That's a need that is more recent,
Mm.
and I'm not exactly sure where it comes from, but I didn't always have this need. Sometimes it actually felt daunting. It felt like exercise, actually.
Mm.
Like, you have to do this. There is this comic book going around that says, "Oh, I don't want to. I want to skip the practice part and just go forward to the part when I'm already awesome."
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I think that's a feeling that you can have plenty times in similar things, and in art, usually that happened to me a lot, but. Yeah, that has been changing lately. I kind of like enjoy more the process rather than the final result.
Mm.
So, and I think that's better, So, because at the end of the day, the result is better that way.
Yeah.
When you're focusing on doing things right
Mm.
rather than I want to finish this piece and I want everybody to love me.
Mm.
So if that's your focus, it's going to be unlikely for that to
Yeah.
happen because you are just rushing it.
Mm.
You're not paying attention. You just want to put something out there as quickly as possible, and that's not the way quality stuff gets done.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel there's pieces though that have taken so long so you stop kind of enjoying it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
And it also happens on what are your motivations.
Hmm.
Because
Definitely.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who you choose your topics for painting.
Hmm.
So, what's your process when you say, okay, I'm going to this dragon that you're making, by example, is
Yeah.
like, how did you came with this idea? What
Hmm.
makes you
Okay.
do, oh, okay, I'm going to do a dragon.
So this comes from Inktober. So I decided for Inktober, I decided that I needed to kind of draw more things straight out of my head and share them. And I thought dragon
Mm.
would be a very great idea to do, um, because dragons are kind of, they don't exist,
Mm-hmm.
technically, so there's no look or feel really to what they actually should look like. So I felt more open with doing dragons, and
Mm.
yeah, I just decided this piece got a little bit of attention, so I decided, oh, since people are liking it, maybe I should just try this painting, and try and render the scales quite nicely and try to draw this painting up. Um,
Mm.
but usually my ideas come with a focus. They come with yeah, something, a meaning behind them while I'm doing them. Like, is it to learn something, or is it to have something that people will relate to? Um, yeah.
Mm.
How about yourself?
Well, that's the thing. It's interesting, like retaking the thing that you were mentioning before about going on a piece for way too long that you can like lose interest on it.
Hmm.
That usually happens to me when I choose topics that are speaking to me on that specific moment, like emotionally.
Yeah.
So just to put a random example, let's say that I don't know, you are angry with one of your friends, about, let's say, green dragons.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you're saying, oh, but I like green dragons, and it's like, oh, the green dragons are lame, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do a super awesome green dragon, and that is gonna show him, yeah. So
Yeah.
you start doing that, but of course it's going to take you a while to complete that illustration,
Yeah.
because it has to be awesome and it has to be a green dragon, and oh my god, so many skills. So at the end of the week that you are midway towards your painting, because
Hmm.
well, you have to do other things and everything. This friend of yours comes to you and says, you know what? I was just being an idiot, and yeah, I mean, green dragons are awesome. I was just giving you a hard time. Friends, yeah, friends, and
Yeah.
everything is amazing. And now this thing that says, "Oh, this is going to show," you no longer have that motivation.
Hmm.
So now you got stuck with a green dragon, and it's like, okay, what's the point of doing this again? So it feels like what for? It's like the feeling is not there anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just when that is kind of like the motivation is easier to kind of like lose the love for what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as opposed to when you want to do something different, like saying, okay, I saw a painting that has an amazing show of I don't know, of color, like the color on that painting is super fantastic, and I want to make a painting that captures that essence. I'm not going to copy it, but I want to capture the feeling that this painting is bringing to me. That probably is going to take is going to stay fresh in your heart and in your mind, and you will continue to be motivated because it's not something that is in the moment, and it's not something that is irrational. It's something that it has a purpose that goes beyond to what you're feeling momentarily. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the difference.
Yeah. Do you think starting out pieces in art to be finished took you longer than it does now?
Before, yes.
Mm.
Yeah, because the more you practice, the more you get used to do things on the presentation. And one of the things that also I think made me stale a lot was that I was afraid of references.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, you know what? I want to solve the things myself. And I think this is a thing that comes with my generation because back in today, well, I'm not. I'm not so young anymore. So I basically start doing this before YouTube and before tutorials and before resources were all there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got used to basically just grab the program and click around and figure out how to do things myself. And you kind of develop a sort of pride on that,
Mm,
as in, oh, nobody told me how to do this. I came up with myself. And it's you paint something and it's like, oh yeah, I did it without looking for references, and that was kind of like a source of pride. And but at the same time, it can take you to kind of like reinvent the wheel. So sometimes it's quicker if you say, you know what, I want to make a girl that is holding a kitten, and maybe get a picture, or maybe get your cousin to hold a kitten and take a photo and observe everything and just paint it, that trying to figure out in your head how to do it, because it's going to take you longer. It's like, okay, I'm going to put the arm like this. Oh, it looks like it doesn't look like it's holding it, or oh, it looks like it's a stuffed animal and not a live animal. So you go over and over and over and over, and that takes a lot of time that
mm,
you could probably solve in 5 minutes if you had the right reference.
yeah.
So yeah, I had to learn to trust on references.
Mm. I'm
And
Yeah, cool. I feel I'm the opposite. I'm like I rely too heavily on references. Um, and now I'm breaking out of that, trying to that's what I was doing for Inktober, and this drawing here, this painting I was doing. That's the main focus, is breaking out of using references so much.
mm, yeah, you need to have like a sort of kind of like a sweet point between the two.
Hmm.
So it's like um, I was in a course with Craig Mullins. I don't know if you know who he is. He's
Yeah.
kind of like the father of digital painting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I was fortunate enough to get a spot in one of his workshops, and he
Awesome.
was telling me, yeah, that was fantastic. He's
Mhm.
amazing. And one of his advices that stuck with me was well, he put me to paint a pillow.
Hmm.
Sounds simple. A pillow is like, oh my God, how difficult can be a pillow? Well, it's difficult. It is difficult that it looks like a pillow, especially, with just a few strokes. And
Yeah.
he told me, you know what? You are not painting a pillow. You are painting all pillows. When you get a reference, don't just get one reference and try to copy one on one. No,
Hmm.
you get several reference of several pillows, several lining settings, several foldings, several everything. Observe each one. Check what there is in common among all them and come with your own pillow. But
Hmm.
once that you already study about the drapery, how they fall, how they are puffy, how they are not puffy, how the shadows hit them, and once that you kind of like digest everything that makes a pillow, then you can go and paint your pillow.
Hmm.
So yeah, basically that was the advice. It's like you're not painting one pillow, you're painting all pillows.
Yeah.
So so
Awesome.
yeah, that was amazing.
Cool. So I'll just do my last question, because I asked this. So what advice would you have to any aspiring artists?
Mm. What advice should I give to aspiring artists? Well, basically, is first master your fundamentals, everything that is there to know about anatomy, about composition, about the values. Compositional values can be, can make or destroy your painting. Um, well, everything that has to be learned on that sense of the technical side, and then get a training on storytelling as well, and how to put all the technical aspect to at the service of a good concept or a good idea or a good story that you want to tell. Because you can be amazing, technically speaking, but if the awesomeness of your painting is not giving, something that the person who looks at it feels connected with, is probably going to be forgotten. And that is something that I just recently learned.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
So yeah, thank you for joining me today.
thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, this has been the dragon painting. Thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, this is Nell fallcard's work. Check her out. She's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.